Good morning, everyone. Happy Hanukkah. Glare back there. Okay. We are in Mishna Ma'aser Sheni, Perek Beis Mishna Yud, chapter 2, Mishna 10. The halacha is that money needs to be kept tahar, pure. That'll come into contact that'll make a tamei, ritually impure. And if it does, that's number one. And someone who is impure may not partake of Ma'aser Sheni. Actually, even if Ma'aser Sheni becomes tamei, a person who's tamei can't eat it. So we have to be very careful in Ma'aser Sheni to make sure that it doesn't become tamei. So here we have the following situation. Mishayu miktsas ban of tamei and miktsas and tahirin. A person in Yerushalayim with his family wants to buy a pitcher of wine with Ma'aser Sheni money, which if he does so, the sanctity from the Ma'aser Sheni money will go onto the food. And when that happens, only his children, he wants his children to partake from it. He has some children who are pure and some were impure. That's what happened. So those who are impure may not partake of this wine once it gets the Ma'aser Sheni sanctity. So how can he work it out that both his children who are tahar, pure, and the ones who are tamei impure, how could they both partake from the same flask of wine or barrel of wine? So Mishayu miktsas ban of tamei and miktsas and tahirin. Somebody who had some of his children were impure, some of them were pure. He puts down a sela and he says, this sela is Ma'aser Sheni. The original Ma'aser Sheni produce was its sanctity was transferred from it unto this money. Now this money is taken to Yerushalayim and spent on food there. So as he's about to spend this sela of Ma'aser Sheni on this wine, he makes the following declaration. Masha tohirim shaisim, that which the pure ones drink, sela zimuchalelas alav. That is what this sela, that is onto what the sanctity of the sela goes onto. The sanctity of the sela is transferred onto the wine that the pure ones drink. Nimtzu tohirim utmeim shaisim mikad echad, and it can come out at the end. Therefore, the result will be that both the pure ones and the impure ones can drink from the same pitcher. So what's happening here is that he is transferring the sanctity from the money onto the wine, but onto the wine that the pure ones drink. The wine that the pure ones drink, that is the wine that the sanctity of these coins is going onto. So therefore it comes out at the end that what they drank was Ma'aser Sheni, had Ma'aser Sheni sanctity. And what was left over for the ones who were impure didn't become Ma'aser Sheni, because I only transferred the sanctity of the Ma'aser Sheni from the money onto the wine that the pure ones drank. So when you put down this coin and by doing so, you are trying to transfer the sanctity of the Ma'aser Sheni coin onto this food, you're specifying and you're making it happen that the sanctity of the Ma'aser Sheni goes on the wine that lands up being drunk by the tahar ones. So at the end, the tahar ones land up drinking the wine that had the Ma'aser Sheni sanctity, and the rest of the wine doesn't have Ma'aser Sheni sanctity, and the impure ones can drink that. The way that this works is using a concept called brera. Brera, which means to clarify. That means there's a concept that something that happens later, something that's determined later, can clarify retroactively what was going on. When the tahar children drink their wine, that clarifies to us to begin with beforehand. When I declared that the sanctity of the coin is transferred, that it was transferred onto that wine that they drank. That's what brera says. Brera says that we had this barrel of wine. There was within this wine, this pitcher of wine, let's say, this pitcher of wine, the wine that was going to be drunk by the pure ones. And what happens is that at the end, when the pure ones drink their wine, so that tells us now that wine It's that wine that was originally in the pitcher. That's the wine that the transfer, that the sanctity of the Ma'aser Sheni transferred onto, and only onto that. And the rest of it now never doesn't have the sanctity, and the Tamei ones can drink it. That is what this concept tells us. This is what halacha tells us. We can see things. We can see that when I declare the transfer, that's when the transfer was taking place. But what was it taking place on? The answer is it's determined later by what they drink that's the wine that to begin with had the sanctity of the Ma'aser Sheni transferred onto it. That is what Brer allows us to do. Brer allows us to say that what the wine that they drank, that helps us figure out retroactively which part of this wine had the sanctity of the transfer of the Ma'aser Sheni transferred onto it, and which didn't. And therefore, that allows that both the Tar children can drink and the Tamei children can drink. But there's still a condition that has to be met, and that is if these Tamei children were to take the flask first, the pitcher first, and pour it or drink from it, whatever they're doing, if they're going to handle it first, there's going to be a problem. They're going to make the whole thing impure. Because once they touch the pitcher becomes impure, and the wine becomes impure. Again, depending on what kind of, how they became, what was their source of impurity. But there are going to be situations where if they handle the pitcher, it's going to make the wine impure. Once the wine's impure, no one can drink from that wine if it was Ma'aser Sheni. Meaning, so if you did this, if you went ahead and you made this declaration, and you said the wine that will be drunk by the pure ones, that's the wine upon which the sanctity Ma'aser Sheni goes on. And we say, okay, well, it'll be clarified to us later which wine that is, meaning with the wine that they drink. Okay, but it's not like I have, Ma'aser Sheni wine here and non-Ma'aser Sheni wine mixed together. And if I pour them together, I wouldn't know which is which. It's only because of this process only because we now utilize the concept of Breira to say, no, there is part of the wine. We will know which part of the wine had the sanctity of Ma'aser Sheni and which doesn't. Because when the Tar ones drink their wine, that will now clarify to us retroactively which wine had the sanctity. So some of it had the sanctity, some of it didn't have the sanctity. We're okay. The problem is, though, that if the impure ones drink first, and even if we're allowed to say, oh, what they drank, that's not what the Ma'aser Sheni sanctity transferred onto, fine. But even if you say that, if they handle the jug first, then they're going to make all the wine tamei. And you can't make the Ma'aser Sheni wine tamei. If it does become tamei, even somebody tamei can't drink from it. So it can't be so this is a detail. This is an added factor that has to be taken into consideration when doing this. That even when we say that you can determine which wine has the sanctity of the Ma'aser Sheni transferred to it, at the end of the day, the Tar one should be the one drinking first. Because if the Tamei ones drink first, it'll be possible. They'll then make that. It's possible, depending on what status of impurity they have, that will now make all the wine impure, and no one will be no one will be able to drink from it. The pure one can't drink from it because it's tamei, and even the impure one can't drink from it because Ma'aser is tamei you can't drink from. So therefore, don't let the children who are tamei drink first. Okay, we are now in the Klal Dalet, 4th chapter of the Laws of Lashon from the Chavetz Chaim, paragraph Beis, paragraph 2. So the first thing that was mentioned was that I apologize. We're at the beginning. We're just about to begin Klal Dalet, paragraph chapter 4. Halacha Aleph. It is forbidden to speak about your friend, even not in front of him, even if it's true, something that through it he will be disparaged. We're not only talking about things that are just basically pure gossip, pure degradation. Basically something that there is no reason to be putting him down for. Going, for instance, liskar alav ma'isa avaisav ukroivav, to talk about what his parents or relatives used to do, which has nothing to do with him. He's not doing it anymore. Liskar alav masim marishaitim, or he never did what his family did, or to start talking about the people, what he used to be like, what he used to do. Now he's okay. There's no point of these things. Whether these things about him in the past or his family in the past relate to matters between man and God, like eating kosher, keeping Shabbos, or matters between man and his fellow Jew, stealing, cheating. Now that he is behaving properly, it's Lashon Harah to go ahead and degrade and speak bad about him. Excuse me. But let's say we're talking about where you yourself witnessed that he did something wrong. Again, you saw it between him and you. You saw it on your own. You know this person did something wrong. There's no question about it. These are matters between man and God. You saw him do something wrong when it came to Shabbos. You saw him something wrong, whatever it may be, whatever things. I mean, there's going to be a lot of details to this. But you saw him do something again. You saw him that he wasn't wearing his tzitzis. You know that he wasn't wearing tzitzis. When it comes to matters between man and his fellow Jew, that gets more detailed. But right now we are discussing where you saw someone do something wrong. We're talking about matters between man and God. Here too, again, you cannot defame him. You cannot speak badly about him, even if it's not in front of him. Without the conditions that we'll speak about later. So the first step that Chavetz Chaim wants to make here is, and he's going to be going more into details, is that the starting point is, and this is the starting point every time of how a person has to begin when they're looking at things. Number one, even if you yourself saw and know that somebody did something wrong, and right now we're talking about matters between man and God, even if you saw him do this and you know that it was wrong, what he did or he didn't do, that does not allow you to go and speak to others about it. You may not go in public and tell other people about it. You may know it's true. You may not witness it. There's no question about it. Nonetheless, that does not mean that you now have the right to go tell other people about it. Have a wonderful day, and again, a happy Hanukkah.